Live. Sorry for the slight delay, we had a slight technical hitch, but we are with you now. Joining me today, I've got Alexis Cassie from Prestige Diesels and Giles Usher from Cars of Portsmouth. Obviously you two are the Portsmouth posse. How are things going at the moment?
We're just around the corner from each other, actually.
Yeah. Do you
trading together?
fiercely competitive or?
No, we actually, Giles takes our part exchanges, the majority of them,
right, okay.
which works really well for us because we do different cars. So when I've got somebody who wants a cheaper end of the market car, I pass them on to Giles, and I also know they're going to get looked after, which is massively important to me. Giles is a true gentleman, aren't you?
It's a nice symbiotic relationship. There you go.
Before we start, these guys have been cracking me up for like the past 10 minutes. So I'm trying to get them to behave together, but they keep fighting. So what's going on with you guys at the moment? I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll go first then.
Okay.
Really exciting for us because around the end of April, I haven't got an exact date, but we're relaunching our website. So we've got a new website that's a totally different look to, I hope, the majority of car dealers out there. No disrespect, it's just that we wanted something very different. We're relaunching our logo, a new logo, and a new name. So Prestige Diesels are changing.
That's a massive step. What?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you want to do this?
It's really important to us to kind of move with the times, and what we found is, although we were doing petrols, we were segregated in the diesel market, and when people were looking at a petrol car, they were going, are you sure it's a petrol, not a diesel? Because obviously the name Prestige Diesels. And so for us, we just needed to kind of, move on. And so I can't tell you the name. I was nearly going to drop it then. It's a secret. We're not really going very much further from what we've already got, but we are extending it is probably the best word. So it's really exciting.
So you are excited?
Yes.
You're feeling a bit sad about moving on?
I'm a little bit precious about our old logo because I did that. When we first started, Scott went on, he had a skiing holiday booked for a few days. He went skiing and I went onto YouTube and learned how to use Illustrator. I then built that logo piece by piece, and if anybody knows these design programs, there wasn't a layer in my logo. And you meant to have layers, but mine was just built by Alexis. So I am a little bit precious about our logo, but I've really warmed to the new one. It's not massively different to what we've already got, but I would say it's modernised.
Have you done the new one?
Yeah.
You've done the new one?
I'm not showing you what it is though.
Is there a date for when this is going to happen?
The end of April. I'm just trying to tie a few things up, but I'll be pushing it really heavily on social media, so
we'll keep our eyes peeled.
Keep your eyes
peeled.
Need to. No, you'll probably see it anyway.
So what's going on with you, Giles?
We have just moved site, so we've been on a shared site for 6 years, and they're redeveloping that, and so we found out in November and we're given a month's notice.
Wow.
It was a bit of a pressure to find somewhere, and as you can imagine, there's not a massive amount of places in Portsmouth where you can just at the drop of a hat get into, but I found somewhere in December, and we moved in at the beginning of February, so we've been there a month. It was a mess when we moved in because the guys that were there previously were breaking cars, so it was pretty awful mess. But, so it's been a bit like pushing water uphill for a month, but
it's starting to look good though.
Starting to look better.
It's a really nice site.
It's not a traditional main road site. It's like a courtyard, and it's a little bit hidden. But
do you like being in an area like that though? Does it work?
I don't mind. I think the way the advertising is these days, that people do 15 hours of looking for a couple of cars, and they go out and look at a couple of cars. So as long as people can find you when they're going to come out, then and your cars are right, that's what matters. So, so I don't think it's not a challenge as such. I don't think.
Have you got plans for the site? Is there anything?
Well, it's a shame. Obviously, I don't own it, so obviously I don't spend all my money on somebody else's site. But it's amazing how much money you can tie up doing nothing, if you know what I mean. But just make it look nice and presentable. Obviously, I've got 3 workshops now where before I didn't have anything. So we're starting up a bumper repair and dent removal business in one of them. That's cool. And we'll probably start to do some workshop stuff in the other one. So that's a plan.
It must be good in your site because you can, if Alexis gets anything that needs repair, she can send it over to you.
Yeah, and he's only just round the corner
as
well.
You've got quite a few there, haven't you?
Sorry?
You've got quite a few of different car dealers or
repair
sites. So you can
it's actually quite a quite a close knit community.
That's nice.
Do you know what? We all get on really well actually. there isn't any fierce competition. Maybe it's because we all do different
Very
things.
different things, isn't it? Yeah.
But I never see you as competition.
Not yet.
It's not yet.
So we just had a comment from the judge who says, "Speak, Mr. Usher," and hopefully you're on a slight delay, but hopefully you've just heard him.
The law jaw.
Yes, the Law Jaw crowd seem to be on the comments today, so I'll let you know if there's any more abuse. So that sort of takes me quite nicely onto our first topic today, which is talking about the cost of advertising. What do you guys find? Is there anything you find works really well? Anything that doesn't work?
Well, shall I go first?
Yeah.
Cost is probably the biggest part of it, and the costs just keep going up. But in terms of what's effective, there's actually not an awful lot that is effective. So where you put your money has got to be the place that works probably the best. And in our terms, I know people will hate me to say it, but the Auto Trader is huge amounts of money, especially for a small dealer. But they do, they do innovate and come out with more products that help you do the job that you do. But the other places, I suppose, you have eBay, which is a fraction of the cost, but it's a fraction of the response, and the sort of inquiries you get from it are a lot less serious than you might get from Auto Trader or other places. Obviously, Piston Heads. The amounts of people that have a big enough market share to warrant you using all the time, I think probably is not big enough. But the issue probably for us will be when obviously Car Gurus is the latest player on the scene, isn't it? Which obviously doesn't cost anything at the minute.
Does it work though?
Well, actually, weirdly, in the last couple of weeks, I've had quite a few inquiries from Car Gurus, and they send you an email, and you have to reply with a tracking email back. And although I think one of the inquiries they had, the car was already sold, and I don't think we had a response from the other ones when I responded. I had one that came through two different, from the Auto Trader and Car Gurus. But obviously the problem for all of us will be if somebody gets a big enough part of the market share, what we're going to end up with is two big bills. Yeah. And this is what they have in the States at the minute.
I think also, we're all looking at our businesses in the next 4 or 5 years, especially the smaller guys like you and me, they're going to everyone's keep on putting their prices up. Even my payroll lady put her price up today, and I was like, Christ, we can't make any more money. Actually, we're making less money because we can't fit any more cars in our showroom. We can't turn over the cars fast enough, So we're going to get squeezed to the point where you're going to have to make a decision as a business. Yeah. What do we do next? I really don't know what's going to happen at that point. For us, social media is working a lot better. Giles, you sold 2 cars from Facebook without even paying for them.
Yeah. I was going to say, what's the story with this?
Well, if you post cars on Facebook, which obviously we're all dipping our toe into doing, and you do it on your business page, then you have to pay to promote it. And I thought, well, I'll just try posting them on my personal page and see what the response is with that. And I put Polo on, a friend tagged another friend into it, and 40 minutes later they had phoned up, had a conversation about the car and given me a deposit. So I was quite happy about that.
Do you try that again since?
Yeah, I've done it again, and it might be that obviously it's pretty, maybe a cheaper end of the market. But I think there's that adage that everybody knows somebody who's about to buy a car, and obviously if you post things on your personal timeline and more people get to see it without you having to promote it, I mean, obviously you're in danger perhaps of boring your friends senseless with stuff you're posting. But then I think a lot of your friends probably
get behind you as well,
and they support that in a way, because obviously I do I sell cars to all my family and friends, and I always have. And people always say, "We'll never sell cars to family and friends," you know. But they can go and buy a car from some other person that they don't know who might not be as sensible as me. So you know,
I guess if you believe in your cars,
you
wouldn't sell them something because they're your family and friends. You would sell them something that was.
It's the support too, isn't it? That you know, my door's always open. If someone's got a problem, they come and see me. So.
And I guess on the Facebook side, if you can sell 1 in 10 cars on your personal page, that's still like 1 in 10 cars that you've saved paying for someone else to advertise it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you know that with the social media thing is it's awareness, isn't it?
It definitely helps. I was going to say, if anybody is unsure of Facebook, you need to go and look at Facebook on the forecourt. I'm sure if you put it into Google, it will come up. But that gives you the really good basis of how to do it all. Right. And then it's kind of a learning curve. You kind of have to look and see what works, what doesn't work, and then just go from there. But we're not there yet. We're selling cars, but we're not putting every single car. We're not putting a car on, it gets sold straight away. Whereas I think Jim pretty much is a given. He puts a car on and it's gone.
It's building the right audience at the end of the day,
exactly.
Isn't it?
We're struggling. I'm not going to lie, to get likes on our page from the local area, and we need to find a way of doing that. What Jim's got is a fantastic audience already that he's spent the last few years kind of building up, and I think that's probably the difference.
So a question we've had from John is, does the cost of using your Facebook page to sell stock make it good value against Auto Trader when you consider the return?
Absolutely. I'm always interested to think, and I've never done it, but if I put £50 into a car, because I pay £20 at the moment, I wonder if I put £50 into a car, if it would sell. And I'd love to, I'm just not brave enough to do it. But I do wonder, we do seem to get a better response from it. Auto Trader's great in moments. It has peaks and troughs. At the moment, it's kind of gone down. And Facebook seems to be working better for us. So I think it's really, when you put your car in front of somebody and who you capture at that very moment in time, it's luck as well.
Yeah. Do you guys, I guess it's like that with any of them, surely who's searching for what car at any point?
It's the same on Auto Trader, I suppose. The day before, somebody could go and buy a Jaguar XF, and the next day you could put yours on there. So
it's, the social media thing's a bit more of a scattergun though, isn't it? Because if people are looking they go to the Auto Trader to look for, don't they, where they're
buying. That's true.
You're hoping that you're going to get whatever you're advertising in front of somebody who might be interested in, and obviously with Facebook you can target
pinpoint
who you're trying to market to. And obviously, I've tried with the cheaper end of stuff to try, because obviously there's thousands of chimney pots around where we are, to really target very closely in Portsmouth that area, because there's more likely to be more people looking for the more affordable stuff locally. So I've honed that down.
That's cool.
So probably you get a better spend locally.
You get people coming far and wide, don't you?
Yeah, we don't really sell to Portsmouth as of such. And do you know what? It was interesting being on here with Imperial, because they've moved that branch. Right. They've got the cheaper stuff in the Portsmouth branch now, and they've moved the more expensive stuff, I think, to Southampton. Don't quote me on that. So I'm guessing
that probably works better for you.
It does kind of work better for us. But we don't really sell cars to the Portsmouth area. I think Giles's cars are a lot more appropriate. And Portsmouth is quite a small place, At the end of the day, there's only 2 roads on, 2 roads off. We've kind of cut off a massive, section of customers we potentially could have had because it's water.
That's very true. Okay, so we're just going to cut to a short break, and then we're going to be coming back with Jason Williams from Lawgistics. He's going to be talking to us about defamation in online reviews. So if you've had any bad experiences, let me know in the comments, because we'd love to talk about them and ask him for a little bit more information. We'll see you in a bit.
At this year's CDX 16, car dealers can expect an action-packed day. We've managed to line up some fantastic keynote speakers. People like Facebook and Twitter are going to be there to explain to dealers how to use social media to the best possible way when it comes to selling cars. We've got Google, who are going to explain how the search engine can work best for dealers. We're also delighted to say that we've got Jim Holder. He's the editorial director from Haymarket, behind brands like what car, auto car and piston heads, and he's going to be giving some fantastic insight into what car buyers want these days.
Some of the key workshops of CDX16 will be covering topics such as personnel, training and development, how to find the right talent, how to retain that talent, and how to look at things like your website, marketing, and of course the all-important how to increase sales.
Suppliers really need to be at CDX. It has rapidly become the event for the motor trade. Last year we had 1,500 dealers turn up. This year we're aiming for 2,000.
All of our workshops are hosted by experts in their field. So you're going to come away and you're going to have learned something from those workshops that you can implement and put into place in your business the very next day.
This year for CDX16 we're not resting on our laurels, we are making it bigger and better than ever before. And that's not only the expo is going to be larger, we've got an additional hall, but we're also going to be focusing more on the workshops. The workshops are where dealers can learn something new. We've got 12 fantastic topics. They range from recruitment to personnel to making the most out of online sales. And it's the place where dealers can really pick up some hints and tips to better their business and make that day out of the office really pay for itself. So if they haven't got a place at this year's CDX, they need to hurry up because places are selling out very, very quickly indeed. It's very easy to get more information about CDX16. They can simply click on a link that's probably going to be playing underneath my face. They can call the office on 02392 522 434 or tweet us. I'm at Car Dealer Ed, the magazine's at Car Dealer Mag. We're out there, we're listening to what you've got to say, and if you need any help in booking a place or booking a ticket, then get in touch with myself or any one of the team here.
Hello, welcome back to Trade Plates Live. I'm here I've got Alexis Cassie and Giles Usher on the sofa, but we're now going to cross over. We've got Jason Williams from Lawgistics. How are things in Peterborough today?
The weather's nice, which is a start.
Oh, that's good.
Very busy as well.
Oh, well, not so good all the time. So we're going to be talking about defamation in online reviews today. Can you explain a little for anyone that doesn't know what defamation is, what that actually means?
When we think of defamation, it tends to fall into two broad categories. One of which is slander, and the other is libel. Now, slander is generally speaking when people speak, and in fact law students connect the S of slander with the S of speaking, and therefore they quite rightly conclude that libel is writing, and that generally speaking is correct. However, it's not exact, because what we have to distinguish between slander and libel is how permanent those words are. So, for example, this broadcast is being spoken by me, but if it's being recorded in the permanent format, that would be deemed to be libelous. However, online reviews, for example, that are in writing, they will deem to be libelous if they are incorrect. And there are a number of things that we have to bear in mind in order for something to be deemed to be defamatory, which is defamation essentially. Now, one of those things is that, generally speaking, insults do not count to be defamation. Defamation is about injuring the reputation of a person to such an extent that they suffer financial loss as a consequence. Now, an insult, for example, would not fall into that category. So if someone puts on social media, you know, that Jason Williams from Lawgistics, he's a fat, lazy Welsh git or whatever, I take no action for that because that's an insult, but it doesn't damage my reputation in any way. So reputation is very important when it comes to defamation. Now, the other thing to bear in mind as well is that statements of truth are an absolute defence to any defamation that's been alleged. So, for example, if we have someone who puts on a review site, oh, you know, this car company being prosecuted by trading standards for doing this, that, and the other, you may not like it, but if it's actually true, you can't do anything about it. Okay? So if it's true, you can't do anything about it. The other thing that we often get is clients who contact us saying they want reviews taken off the website because they don't agree with them. Now, unfortunately, a bad review doesn't fall into a category of defamation just because you don't happen to like it, or indeed if you disagree with the contents of it. For example, a lot of people complain because an online reviewer may write something along the lines of, this garage did nothing to help me, the showroom was incredibly untidy. All of those matters are entirely subjective and are matters of opinion. And opinion, bearing in mind the right in the UK to have freedom of expression, is very important. You often see it, for example, where you may get in the newspaper a sports journalist writing, this referee had a terrible game, or a film critic writing along the lines of, this actress did a fairly miserable job of portraying this particular character. Those are statements of opinion that are not defamatory, and public interest says that we're allowed to have a freedom of expression in that regard. Now, if, for example, we have a client who says that on our website, or on a review website rather, someone has written, this garage can't be trusted, they're all thieves, they all clock their cars, they all buy illegal imports, they're all, murderers, rapists, whatever it is. If they say those things, then those are defamatory comments because they clearly injure the reputation of that person or that business, which is going to cause them significant or potentially significant losses. But in a lot of cases, we simply can't do an awful lot about the genuinely bad review, unfortunately, only when they're clearly defamatory.
So what is the best way to deal with a complaint that you think is unfair then?
I think the best way to try and deal with these things is to try to convert the negative into the positive. If you have someone who is writing about your business and you don't agree with it, the best thing you can do, I think, really, is respond to it in a way that portrays you in a very positive light. Now, the worst thing you can do is respond to it in a very aggressive way. The worst thing you can do is to get in a temper and just start writing on there, get this terrible review off, or I'll get my lawyers to see you in court and sue you for millions, this, that, and the other. That's never going to work, because anyone who then reads that kind of response is going to look at you and think to themselves, well, if this is the way they deal with complaints, I don't want to be dealing with them. So you can do more damage yourself if you respond inappropriately. But the best way in many ways is to respond in a positive way, explain what you've done to help that particular individual, that customer. And if you have a difference of opinion, state why you have that difference of opinion. State, for example, that, if you're complaining about a tyre that wore out 8 months after purchase, explain why clearly that's going to be an expectation of normal use and wear and tear rather than a defect. But then end it by saying, we welcome all feedback and we would happily invite this customer back into our showroom or to speak to them over the telephone and to engage in constructive dialogue to resolve any issues that they may have. After all, customer focus is what we're all about. So when that reviewer then has that response to it, I think when people then read both of them together, they will be able to see why the initial reviewer was wrong and why the client garage has done all that they can by articulating and explaining what they've done to assist that individual and to portray themselves in a customer-focused way. If that's not possible, or in conjunction with that, what one can also do is complain formally to the internet service provider. Now, in legal terms, an internet service provider is known as an innocent disseminator of information, which basically means that they sit there and they display information to the world, but generally speaking, they don't have a great deal of involvement as to the content of that website or of that review page. However, what the law says is that an individual can sue for defamation the internet service provider if that internet service provider does not remove any defamatory comments once their attention is drawn to it.
Right.
So, as I say, responding in a favourable way can be very beneficial. But if you don't think that's appropriate and is clearly defamatory, then you can complain to the ISP, and they're under legal obligation to remove genuinely defamatory comments. But that is a key expression, genuinely defamatory comments. They won't just take them off just because you don't like it or there's a difference of opinion. They have to be very accusatory in the way they go about things.
So you will then have to prove, I guess, that was defamatory. And how do you go about doing that, I suppose?
Well, therein lies one of the problems in taking any action for defamation. I mean, if, for example, by comparison, you are a multi-million pound famous sportsman or politician, for example, you have to bear in mind that a defamatory comment about those individuals will go global within a matter of hours, if not minutes. And as a consequence, they may find that very lucrative sponsorships may suddenly just disappear one after the other, after the other, after the other. And so they can quantify, to some extent, their financial losses as a result of the defamatory statement. But when you come to a car dealership, for example, of which there are probably thousands across the UK, it's very difficult to be able to say accurately that one or two bad reviews has caused you a loss of business. Because, of course, with the car industry, sales go up and down on a day-to-day basis, weekly, monthly. So proving that is very, very difficult. And, of course, the other thing to bear in mind as well is that the person who makes that review is unlikely to be able to be in a position financially to compensate you for those losses anyway. You can sue a newspaper for defamation and probably get a hefty payout. But, suing Uncle Tom Cobley on a review page probably isn't going to get you anywhere far at all in financial terms.
Right. So what about, I know this is something that comes up a lot, people getting fake reviews or people that never even bought a car from them and believing comments just to be horrible. What can you do in that situation?
Well, there's a third strand of defamation, and now that's called malicious falsehood. Now, malicious falsehood is a deliberate statement of ill intent, if you like, really, which purposely is set out to cause damage to the reputation of a particular company or business or individual. Now, the difference between malicious falsehood and general defamation is that for malicious falsehood, you have to prove that what they say is false, that it's been put on there deliberately and falsely, like with malicious intent to cause damage. So, in other words, by saying, making it up and saying, I've been to so-and-so garage and I've done this, that and the other, and they allege all kinds of things. If that's not true, and it clearly is not true, and they haven't been there and they haven't bought a car, then you can argue that if that statement, it doesn't have to be defamatory, it doesn't have to defame you at all, it just has to be false, it has to cause you some loss, and it has to be put there deliberately, maliciously. If you can prove those things, then you can go to your ISP provider and say that this person is putting on a false review, and in theory, you can take a legal action for compensation for malicious falsehood. Again, just to say that is a statement that it just needs to be false and deliberately set out to damage your reputation, but it doesn't need to defame you. So those fake reviewers may not be defaming you, but if they say something that's false about your business because they haven't been there, and they're setting out perhaps as a competitor, trying to ruin your business, then in theory you do have the ability to take a legal action under malicious falsehood.
That is actually really interesting, Jason. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know anything about in there. I don't know about you guys. Yeah. So I think we're going to wave goodbye and say thank you very much and have a little chat about this and see what these guys think. Thank you for joining us, Jason. That was really, really interesting.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. So, did you guys learn anything from that?
Yes.
What?
I wanted to ask a question, I don't know if I
Oh,
could.
sorry.
Google, what happens when somebody leaves a bad review on Google? Because I think there's nothing you can do about it, even if they haven't bought a car from you or whatever product.
Well, from the sounds of what Jason was saying, that's...
I think Google are a little bit of a law into their own. But
what, because they're like the overlords?
But, I mean, we've been in this situation. It was... We went about 4.5 years with 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
And I'm going to cut this really short. We sold, which we don't normally, a £1,700 17-year-old Hyundai Coupe, which went through an MOT with no advisories. We put a 15-month warranty on it. We serviced it. We did everything we should have done before it went out. And I personally drove it for 2-3 weeks. I really enjoyed it for an old car. And I never had a problem with it. Within a few months of the gentleman who purchasing it, who lived quite a way away owning it, the alarm kept on going off. Now, I just started to think, I wonder if it's something that he's doing, because I didn't have that problem. So we kind of tried to sort that out, and eventually it transpired there was a problem with it, so we paid for that under warranty. 3 months later, so we're 6 months into it, he phones up and he has another problem where it won't start first time. And by this point, he got really aggressive with us over the phone. I remember it was quite late at night as well. And we will help anybody, whether you've bought a car 5 years ago or a day ago. And I remember Scott saying to him, why are you being so aggressive? He said, because I'm going to help you anyway. And the gentleman's retort was, I find if I'm more aggressive, I get my way with companies. And so we knew straight away that this was definitely not going in a good direction. So anyway, crankshaft sensor, I think it was, the second problem was £25. The labour was half an hour. It was a really quick job and it was over and done with. And we didn't hear from him for another 3 months. And then 8 months down the line, he phones us up and he says, I've just broken down. And I remember Scott saying, have you phoned the mechanic? And he says, yes, and he hasn't phoned me back straight away, and I'm going to give you one choice now. You either give me my money back, or I know how much you value your reputation, I'm going to leave bad reviews for you. And at that point, I'm not going to lie, Scott said, fill your boots. What more could we have done? What more could we have done? We tried to reason with him. He wasn't a gentleman to reason with. We'd tried our hardest, and in the end we had to accept that he was going to write her a bad review. That night he did write a 1-star review on Google. Everyone can go and look at it if you want, because I show our customers and I ask them, how do you perceive this person? Because it upsets me, I'm not going to lie. I cried for about an hour and a half when I got it. I really got upset because it broke our 5-star reviews. And when you read it, not belittling the customer, but no punctuation, no spelling. He states he bought a £1,700 car. He says that we didn't help him, I think. And basically it was so badly written that I didn't even think I needed to respond. I think the gentleman's review probably said it all to the consumer. Afterwards, asking people and saying, what do you think? They said, oh, actually, I had a lady bought a car the other day. She said, I saw your 1-star review and I skimmed past it. I only needed to read one line. So customers have got brains and they can work out if somebody is just being malicious or if somebody generally has had a bad problem with a dealer.
They probably just weigh it up, don't they?
Yeah.
You know,
And
if you've got that many good reviews, then you're going to have...
Exactly.
I mean, you know, cars are very complicated.
I think you can tell when they're fake reviews as well. You know, if you look at a restaurant and there's a lot of reviews that are, you can just tell when they're written by the people that work there. It's like you two go back now.
There's a spider in my soup.
Yeah.
I must admit, actually, our local curry house, who is brilliant, they've been bombarded with bad reviews on Google, and we were speaking to them about it. I don't even understand how, because they are amazing. And they were saying they think it's the competition in the area.
Right. But you guys have never found anything like that?
No.
Touch wood, no.
Not had a bad review yet.
One that we couldn't do anything about, sadly, but yeah, other than that, nothing else.
I think as you say, I think if you respond to everyone, and like in that case, perhaps you should just spell out what you did to help, and then that just belittles what he was saying, because obviously you went out of your way to help.
Oh, really did. I mean, and we're not the kind of garage that turn our back on people, and that's what made me really upset, is that, you know, he wasn't being reasonable, and actually in the eyes of the law, I think that, you know, with the value of the car and everything, we'd probably gone way over and above. Not many dealers would put a 15-month warranty on a 17-year-old car.
No, definitely.
3 months.
3 months.
Well, I've actually looked at car dealers in Portsmouth, and you two, I think it's, I always have to say this, waterfront cars.
Waterfront cars.
You guys are the only ones that even have reviews, and you've all got 5-star reviews on
The thing
Google,
with Google reviews is it's tough to get them, because
it's convincing people to go on,
it's
isn't it?
not just that, who has a Google account?
Well, I think everyone does, but they don't.
No, honestly.
Oh, really?
A majority of our customers don't have Google. Again, the majority of our customers are the average age are probably over 40, so it's not something that you would have.
I think the Auto Trader just changed this, because they, in order to leave a feedback on the Auto Trader, you had to be an Auto Trader sign-in customer. And I would say, well,
so annoying.
And why, you know, people can't be bothered.
And so
because you don't even have to be a member to contact the dealer, do you?
No.
You just call the number. So why would you want to be a member to?
So I think they've just changed that.
We've nearly got 60 5-star reviews on Auto Trader. I'm so proud of that. And we literally, when they started the review system up, we took it straight away. We were really excited by it. But the frustrating thing is, I say to customers when they walk in, "Did you see our reviews?" And they go, "No." I'm like, "No." But yeah, we're really proud. Nearly 60 5-star reviews, and we put everyone forward. Getting them to leave them is tough. Actually, I think we're going to make a few phone calls and see if we can,
What about Facebook? Because I've seen you post your Auto Trader reviews on Twitter, but do you get reviews on Facebook? And
I think I'm up to 4. It's a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not doing so
I'd probably
well.
encourage people more to do. I think now that if someone's looking for a car, they'll find the car, see who the dealer is, and then go onto their social media, check their social media, and then go and look at the car. And so I think probably trying to encourage people to leave feedback on Facebook is. Did I say feedback on Facebook?
How many reviews have you got on Facebook?
I don't know.
Because I'm
15
struggling.
or 20 maybe.
people can only see 3 anyway, though. And so
Well, do you know the problem I've got yet again is it seems to be the age thing, because a lot of our customers are the older generation, and I always ask them if you've got Facebook, and a lot of them don't. Even I don't have Facebook. So
you just got a shared account, haven't you?
yeah, I've got a
You've got too many
business
friends.
account, and that's
You
it.
are
so.
Scott.
Oh, I use Scott's account, yeah. So if anybody sees Scott liking things, it's usually me, because Scott doesn't go on Facebook.
So going back to what we were talking about before the break, I wanted to talk to you guys about why you got on Twitter and what it means to your businesses, I guess, because you're both very big on Twitter.
Can I just say, because for anybody who might want to unfollow Giles at this moment, there's a really funny story that we're together here today because about 3 years ago, no, actually go back about 4 years ago, Spidersnet put us on Twitter, and we used to have an automated, all our cars would, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Automate through Twitter, and you didn't do anything, cars would just, once every hour would get posted.
Right.
Never went on it, just let them do that. And then about a year down the line, Giles came into the office and said, "Oh, you've got to get on Twitter." And I remember the conversation we had. He said, it's really good fun, and we've got Motor. At the time, we were doing a lot of Motor Happy. And basically, Giles is the reason why I'm on Twitter. And I remember my retort to him at the time was, "What's the point in that? 140 characters, you can't say a lot." And I really poo-pooed it. But basically, I got on there, and then I was like, "Oh my God, I love this." And then it just, for me, it just snowballed a bit. So if anybody is angry about my Twittering, he's the man.
It's me.
He caused it.
Why did you love it, though?
I think, well, again, we had this thing with Spidersnet where they set up this automated tweets, and I looked at it and thought, what is that doing? Nothing, because nobody's going to look at it, because, obviously you have to start following people, and in order to get your own followers, so you've got to put, what I found out quite quickly, obviously I followed quite a few.
I just followed everyone you
people,
followed.
Umesh, Jim, Reed, Caroline. There was a really nice group of dealers, all independents, who were beginning to play on Twitter. They'd probably been doing it a bit longer than me, but I thought, actually, you've got to put your own personality into it in order to get something back, and there was a lot of personality in it, and there were a lot of good lessons. Everyone was very welcoming, and it seemed like a nice group of people doing it. And I think if you're on Twitter, I don't think I've ever sold a car from being on Twitter.
I don't really see you don't put them on there though, do you?
Not that much, but I think people are aware of you, and I got introduced to someone in the pub not that long ago, and somebody said, "Oh, Giles got a car business in Portsmouth," and he said, "Oh, what's your car business?" "Oh," he said, "I follow you on Twitter."
Oh, really?
And he runs the Twitter account for the Goodwood, and so so I think people generally, it's like Facebook. I think if people want to check you out, they'll see where you are, and but it's a good
way of building relationships. I think, do you know what, actually, if I'm really honest as well, car dealer magazines probably made the car dealers more interested in Twitter and more, thinking, actually, I'm going to use Twitter, because you've kind of focused quite heavily on Twitter and car dealers, haven't you? So I think that's probably
James
helped.
has always been, from the very beginning on Twitter, so I think that's his account, and the car dealer mag account, he's thrown quite a lot of himself into that, which obviously
I really
works,
like James's tweets. They make me laugh,
Don't
especially
tell him
the dog ones, car dealer dog account. But he hasn't done that so much recently.
I think at the end of the day, we're all interested in cars, aren't we?
Yeah.
And whatever it is, you know, I mean, there's loads of banter.
It is. I think the beauty of Twitter is you can use it for work, you can build your brand, but you can also, I find myself having fun at night. I don't just do it because of work. I've built up a really good relationship with people.
But does it work for your business?
Yeah, no, massively.
Yeah.
It helps you through Google for a start, you know.
Right, yeah, of course.
And then we've sold cars from it. Had inquiry. I had an inquiry yesterday, actually. Again, there's one person who, if he's watching, he'll know what I'm saying. But he looks at my cars on Facebook, and then he usually DMs me through Twitter, which I find really strange. He actually called me yesterday. He saw a car on Facebook and called me. So yeah.
Have you got the little thing on your Facebook page that says we'll respond within so much time?
Yeah.
Apparently ours is under an hour.
Right.
But you could set it to
can
say
you?
You respond. You
Can
can
you?
set it to do an auto response saying.
I don't like that though.
Yeah, but then you can get back to them quickly. But
I think people probably come to your Twitter because they know you'll get a response quickly.
Yeah.
What, from Alexis?
No, she's never on
It
Twitter.
depends if I get the notification.
I'm surprised you're not tweeting while we're talking.
Well, I have had someone say, "What are you doing, Alexis? I can see your iPhone."
No, you can't, because I hid it purposely
okay?
today. I've hidden it in a different place so nobody can see it. Because
everyone knows it's very close to your face.
Yeah, exactly. It is a little bit embarrassing. I feel a bit bad because I've not had the same amount of time for Twitter in the last few months.
Yeah.
So I feel a little bit bad because I've neglected people slightly that have really helped me in the past and helped me to get where I am. So I'm just saying I'm coming back with full force in the next few weeks.
Okay. So quickly, we've got about 2 minutes left, and we've got a question from last week that we never got around to, which is, do you guys actually find the guides like cap and glasses useful, or do you find that you know better when you go to buy a car from Trode?
I think they're guides, but Giles uses them a lot more than I, so I'm going to leave that one to him.
I think that I think even that's changing. You know,
Really?
I think that you know, where you'd look something up in a guide and then you go to the Auto Trader and actually do a search for what you're looking to sell to try and get a price point and then work back from there. You now can do that all with the Auto Trader, and you can put in the registration number, the mileage. It tells you how popular they are, how quickly it's likely to turn, and it will pull all the adverts of a similar age and model that are out there in the market. So, you know, you might still use two, but you know, it is changing, and the Auto Trader is just a massive data machine.
Is it actually accurate?
I think it's fairly accurate. Sometimes obviously I use CAP and I do the Auto Trader thing, but there is a differential. But the Auto Trader probably work from the front end back, where CAP works from what it's achieving at auction. But realistically, if the Auto Trader know what things are selling for and how quickly they're selling, then really that's probably the only point you need to work back from. But you know, I mean, I don't know, glasses, cap, you know, again, it's all a lot of money for everyone to use. So yeah, it's accurate. Accurate is key, but you still would do 2 checks, I think, to come up with an answer. But
we look in a few places.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
We look in a few places.
Oh, right.
We kind of do the rounds. You kind of just try and gauge, you know.
Do you ever find that you see stuff and you think, yeah, I know better than that, or is it always better to have that bit of advice?
I think it's dangerous, you know, because the way the market changes quite quickly now, I think, you know, and where something could be quite popular and you might think that's quite popular, and then you end up buying another one, and actually you then find you look at it for 6 months and think, well, how did that happen? But then actually the information you can get from Auto Trader is based on the amount of people looking for certain products. So if that's what is live and real, then that's really...
Because that even changes, doesn't it? I mean, we bought a GT86, and I think last year it might have been, don't quote me on this, but Auto Trader's fastest selling car in a certain region, so we went and bought one. Right. And we haven't had it that long, but it's not going. We haven't had an inquiry on it.
You don't want it to go, do you?
I don't want it to go. I love that car so much. What do I have to do to keep it?
I think odd things with odd specs, you know, are harder to
get the older Alphas in and everything. They just go. We had 2 in last month and they went straight away. Right. And then you're looking at a really nice, nearly new car, and you're like, why is it not going?
I think I want to have a look because I'm like a stats maniac. I'd love to have a look at all the Auto Trader stuff and see.
Man. Yeah.
Probably don't get me on it. You'd never get me on. Okay, we're going to have to end then. Thank you all for watching. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you.
Giles. Hopefully we can get you guys back on again because you're loads of fun and giggles. And thank you, Jason. You were brilliant, actually really interesting. Guys, if you have any comments on today's show, tweet me at TradePlatesTV, or there's still time to comment on here if you'd like to say anything. Thank you for everyone that sent in their comments. And thank you from the judge who's been promoting himself on there. Hopefully you'll go and
Lord
follow.
Jaw.
We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.